Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the Noon News from Montana's news leader.
A very good Monday afternoon. Thanks so much for joining us here on the Noon News. I'm Samantha Sullivan. The casket of former President George Herbert Walker Bush is on its way to Washington, where it will lie in state in the rotunda of the U.S. Capitol beginning today. The 41st President of the United States died Friday night at the age of 94. CBS's Nicole Killian is at the Capitol with the latest.
The casket of former President George H.W. Bush received a military send-off at Ellington Airport in Houston en route to Washington Monday. His son, President George W. Bush, and former First Lady Laura Bush led the family onto the plane, which is being called Special Air Mission 41 for the trip.
He saw the world, not just the country.
On CBS this morning, former Secretary of State Colin Powell, who served as President Bush's chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff during the first Gulf War, remembered his former boss.
He would not make some jump decision out of nowhere. He would think it through and then decide what was best for the country, but not only what was best for the country, what was best for the world.
In an interview with 60 Minutes, former President George W. Bush says his father's legacy will grow with time.
I think he's going to go down as the greatest one-term president ever, because of his foreign policy, deftly handling the end of the Cold War, for example, reunification of Germany.
Former President Bill Clinton, who beat Mr. Bush in the 1992 presidential election, recalled their bipartisan bond.
It's been one of the great joys of my life, my friendship with him. Our arguments were good-natured and open, and we continue to debate things all the way up until recently.
President Bush will lie in state in the Capitol Rotunda until Wednesday. Then a motorcade will transport his casket through Washington to the National Cathedral for a state funeral. Afterwards, his body will be flown back to Texas for a public viewing and private funeral before being buried Thursday. Nicole Killian, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
President Bush will be buried next to his wife Barbara, who died earlier this year, and their daughter Robin, who died of leukemia at the age of 3. Here in Montana, a Missoula family is mourning the loss of their 6-year-old daughter after she developed the flu. The family tells MTN Allison Eaglespeaker was also battling pneumonia and asthma. A fundraising page states Allison passed away on Saturday while under the care of Community Medical Hospital in Missoula. The hospital has yet to confirm if the flu caused the girl's death. And we are now 3 months into the flu season. Influenza activity around Montana remains sporadic, though. According to the Montana Department of Public Health and Human Services, there have been 36 confirmed cases in 11 Montana counties. 2 counties account for more than half of the illnesses. Missoula has seen the highest number of cases with 12, followed by Lewis and Clark County, which has had 9 cases. In the capital city, police arrested a suspect after an armed robbery at a Helena restaurant on Saturday. The 911 center received a call just after 10:45 that Taco John's on North Montana Avenue had been robbed at gunpoint. Authorities say the suspect came in, demanded money, and forced the employees into a walk-in cooler. A few minutes after the call, an officer found someone matching the suspect's description just a block away from the restaurant. Police say they took him into custody and recovered the money and a gun. The suspect is identified as 43-year-old Rudy Lopez of Helena. He was charged with robbery, aggravated kidnapping, assault with a weapon, and a probation violation. In other news, tonight, Bozeman city officials are considering changing some downtown parking rules. MTN's Madaris Babb tells us what these new rules would include if they're passed.
Parking's definitely been a bit of an issue.
Finding a spot on Main Street can be frustrating and nearly impossible during events downtown. But Amy Kirkland says they are still out there.
The traffic has increased quite considerably, and parking, I do think that it is tight. Parking is difficult for some people to find. I think if you're willing to walk a block or two, there's always a parking spot.
The city could change some of the rules, like allowing people to park on the street for up to 72 hours instead of 48, and the ability to deny parking permits for vehicles with outstanding parking tickets. ERA Landmark employee Tim McWilliams thinks this could help free up some extra room.
I don't know the number of people that actually would fall into that category and whether that would be sizable enough to really make an impact. But if it was, it would be great. It would leave some room for the rest of us that are paying.
One of the changes the city is considering is a 30-minute time limit for cars and trucks like the one behind me unloading in the alleyways, with hopes of decreasing the traffic buildup.
You know, we had a situation where an elderly man fainted in the store, and, you know, we were concerned because what if he was fine and the ambulance was able to get to him, but if the trucks were blocking the alley, then that would have been an issue for the ambulance to come in the back to get him.
Depending on the outcome of the vote, if it passes, this would be the first time a limit was enacted on the unloading rule. In Bozeman, Medeiros Babb, MTN News.
Medeiros tells us downtown business owners say some of the other issues they see is people not knowing how to use the parking garage technology and the lack of parking meters for customers who want to shop longer. Well, thank you so much for starting your week with us here on the Noon News. Coming up, we take a look back at the legacy of Helena's first Special Service Force. But first, Ed's in with a full forecast to start the week. We will be right back.
You're watching MTN News with Samantha Sullivan. Storm Tracker weather with Ed McIntosh, and farm and ranch news from the Northern Ag Network. This is the Noon News on Q2, Montana's news leader.